Christ is in our midst. Welcome to Spiritual Calisthenics. Today, on October 13th, we commemorate Saints Carpus, Papylus, Agathodorus, Agathonica, the Martyrs of Pergamus, as well as Benjamin the Deacon, Chryssi, the new martyr of Greece, Meletios of Pegas, Patriarch of Alexandria. So regarding Saints Carpus and Papylus, Saint Carpus was bishop of the church in Thyatira, in Asia Minor, and Papylus was his deacon, whom he had ordained. Seized as Christians and tormented in Thyatira, they were taken to Sardis, whither Agathodorus, their servant, followed them, and also confessed Christ, and was tormented with them. Together with Agathonica, the sister of St. Papylus, they were all beheaded during the reign of Decius in the year 250. Your martyrs, O Lord, in their courageous contest for you, receive the crowns, the prize of incorruption, and life from you, our mortal God. For since they possessed your strength, they cast down the tyrants, and wholly destroyed the demons' strengthless presumption. O Christ God, by their prayers, save our souls, since you are merciful. To those on earth our sovereign Master hath granted your sacred relics a most precious treasure, and a fountain pouring forth great streams of cures. For they purge away the ills of the manifold passions, and bestow upon our souls grace without ceasing. Wherefore with one accord we keep your feast with fervent longing, O Carpus and Papylus. Continuing with St. Paul's letter to the Ephesians, Brethren, let each one of you love his wife as himself, and let the wife see that she respects her husband. This is continuing from yesterday. Children, obey your parents in the Lord, for this is right. Honor your father and mother. This is the first commandment with a promise. This being the only commandment with the epithet, honor your father and mother that you may have a long life, is within the 10 Commandments. That it may be well with you, that you may live long on earth. Fathers, do not provoke your children to anger, but bring them up in discipline and instruction of the Lord. In other words, parents are not supposed to goad their children or to try to ridicule their children. They're supposed to raise up their children. Our goal is, as it says earlier, to present our wives or husbands as the spotless offering unto God in the last days, to walk arm in arm into salvation. Likewise, the goal of parents is to raise your children to be saved, to walk into salvation. Slaves, be obedient to those who are your earthly masters, with fear and trembling, in singleness of heart, as to Christ. In other words, slaves that are in a situation where they are not able to be free physically are supposed to have the same kind of Christian ardor that they would as if their master, sinner that person might be, as Christ himself. Not in the way of eye service, as man-pleasers, but as servants of Christ, doing the will of God from the heart, rendering service with the good will as to the Lord and not to men, knowing that whatever good anyone does, he will receive the same again from the Lord, whether he is a slave or free. In other words, slaves are called to basically treat their masters in a Christ-like manner and understand that, you know what, this isn't fair, this isn't right, but you will receive your reward 1,000 times over. Whether a person is a slave or free, they should behave the same way. Masters, do the same to them, and forbear threatening, knowing that he who is both their master and yours is in heaven, and that there is no partiality with him. So Paul, who was against slavery and even urged a slave owner to free his slave, is reminding slave owners that, you are under the same thing. God is your master too. And he is not partial. There is no difference between your slave and you in the eyes of God. You are equals in the eyes of God. You cannot look down on anyone as less than you. And as such, if you treat that person with disrespect, if you treat that person as an object or an animal, it will not go well with you. Continuing with St. Luke's Gospel. At that time, Herod the Tetrarch heard of all that was done by Jesus, and he was perplexed, because it was said by some that John had been raised from the dead, by some that Elijah had appeared, and by others that one of the prophets of old had arisen. Herod said, John I beheaded, but who is this about whom I hear such things? And he sought to see him. On the return, the apostles told him what they had done, and he took them and withdrew to a city called Bethesda. When the crowds learned it, they followed him, and he welcomed them and spoke to them of the kingdom of God and cured those who had need of healing. And so we see that Herod is full of guilt for what he did to John the Baptist, and is fearful that somehow the judgment of John will come back to haunt him, which of course it does. I hope that you've enjoyed today's Spiritual Calisthenics. Have a blessed and wonderful day.